Hey everyone, let's draw 3D. Today we're going to look at a lesson about creating flat shapes, adding in some lines that are going back in the distance, and making them into 3D buildings. So there's lots of examples that I could show you that I have created over the years, but let's get started. To get started, you're going to need a piece of paper, some tools that have maybe some flat edges, okay, and a pencil. I like this one because it has the different angles if you want to actually look at the angles on a protractor. Now, of course, you could use a bigger ruler. I'm going to stick with the smaller one for now because it does help you get around the paper a little easier. So, the first thing I always say is, let's get our camera. And so the first thing I always tell my students is that if you're looking at this first example that I created, it is drawing out a 3D city, and you want to make it so that all of your shapes are flat. So if I'm making a shape and I want to make a 3D building, I'm going to make so that I have a rectangle or a square shape, something that I can easily start learning with. If I want to have multiple ones together, I absolutely could. And you could just have, like, if you want a ground line even, or a sidewalk in front of it. Now you could measure this out. I'm doing a little more winging of it. But definitely could have some different parts. And I'm gonna have another building that's gonna go right here. So I'm going to start off with those shapes as best as I can, making rectangles and squares. Just to show the difference, I'm going to make a triangle on top of this one. So there's a flat kind of buildings that I have created to start off my city. Oh yeah, and my name. Now, getting started, I want to make these go into the distance. Going into the distance, I want to use some parallel lines. And parallel lines are lines that don't connect. So you see two lines parallel this way or two lines parallel this way. And we're going to actually start creating a rhombus shape. Rhombus shape is very important when creating these three-dimensional buildings. So again, you can come out and you can just go at an angle from the corner. I don't want to go through the building. I want to go behind the building. And if I draw lightly, I can always go back and erase. I'm trying to get about the same angle when I'm going back so that they are trying to go the same way in the distance. So again, one, this corner, this corner, this corner. So there's it going into the distance. That was my step. That was right here. Oops. Step number 2, going into the distance with the lines. And then the last one is connecting the back line back here with a parallel line to the front line. This line is parallel to this line. So these lines should be parallel, these lines should be parallel. So when I go back, if this line is going this direction, I want this direction, I want this one to go the same way. When I come back to this line, I want to go so that this line is parallel to the line in front of it here. And same thing back here. I'm going to go up so that this line is parallel to this line, and this line is parallel to this line. And then I go back and I erase. So I'm going to do that again. Now, since this has a triangle roof, this line is going to actually come this way. And then I'm going to make this vertical line go straight down. And I'm going to have this vertical line go back here. And lastly, my last side of this building, I'm going to go and add the vertical line down here. So now we have 3-dimensional buildings. Now, of course, I could always add other buildings behind. It's the same kind of structure. If I wanted another building that was going behind, I could create I'm going to make it so that I have this one go just a little bit more for guidelines. I could have my building come up, and because it's going to go behind, actually maybe I'll make it go all the way up there. When it goes behind, this line is going to go behind the building so that there's a gap. You can see here, kind of from here. But when I make it go in the distance, it's the same thing. This line is going to go back. This line is going to go back, and I want to use that same angle as best as I can. And then to make my other side of the building, all I have to do is add another line into my actual drawing. So that's getting started. Now, once you get to the fronts of your building, the fronts are going to look just like a normal building. If I want this to be like a garage, I can totally make this into a garage. I can add windows and doors, and whatever I add, because it's on the front of my building, is just going to look like those shapes. Now, at any point, if this is too fast, make sure you just push that pause button. That really helps it so that you can get started and know what's going on. Now, on the side, this is a little bit more tricky. I'm going to use this side, and I'm going to make a big door. So if I go up, I'm going to make a parallel line to this side. I want to make parallel line to this one, so I'm going to go down and try to make it as parallel as I can. And again, I want to make a parallel line that goes parallel to this one as best as possible. This could be used as a driveway coming out. And if I want to make it so that this garage per se is open, all I have to do is go back with a parallel line to the ground line. And now I have it so that the garage is going in. I could also add a door, but because it's inside, it's just going to look like a normal door. So there's lots of different things we can add. If you add other buildings and windows and they're on the side, just make sure that there's a parallel line that parallel to this or parallel to this. And then when you go back up, try to make it as parallel to the sides. That will make your perspective and the view of it look a lot better. Now, this is a lot of practice. Do you have to be perfect at anything the first time? No. Practice makes progress, not perfect. So keep that up, keep up our progress, and keep up adding in details. So I'm going to time lapse it, add a few more details, and then I will come back. Going from what I just drew to what I have here, all I've done is I have traced some things with Sharpie, but otherwise the only other thing I really did was I just was tracing with my color pen. So take out some of those tools and draw with your pencil and your ruler or your protractor, and then when you go back you can add different crayons, you could add different Sharpies to kind of add to some of those details. And work with creating stuff. Then I sometimes go back in and I watercolor the rest of the picture. And sometimes I have just taken my colored pencils and colored in my colored pencils, my picture. So that's how to start making a three-dimensional town or a three-dimensional community. So take your time, pause your video if you need to, and I hope you have a great time creating some art. Have a great day, everyone.